The 15th of February, Rabbi Furst, Pierke Avos. Good morning, my darling.
Okay, good evening. This is Rabbi Shlomo Furst here. She was Hamanafshi here, Shalom Zoom. This is our first year this morning. We're learning Pirkei Avos with Megilas Esther. Let me put the document on the screen. You probably have a copy as well. Let me see here. Continue on with our learning here. Next week will be Rosh Chodesh Adar. Right now, we were just getting to the point about Vashti and Vashti's refusal to appear by the king as he wanted to show her off. And so instead of showing her off, he snuffed her out. And we'll see, put that on the screen. Okay. All right, there we go. So let's see Yud again. Yud base again. Let's just review that pasuk.
So, Rabbi, we had left a question.
Yes. Let's go ahead.
Why didn't inquire, and why didn't Vashti explain?
Right. So I think the way we can approach it is see a person's thoughts are in many ways directed by a Kadosh Baruch, right? So you're right. According to what reasonable people would have done, right? Like here he calls for his queen, and she's also, as I said, she was the Gemara. Based on the Gemara, Vashti's looking forward to making a good showing at the party, right? She wants to show off. He wants to show her off. She wants to show herself off. So, and as the Gemara pointed out, she wanted to show herself off so much that the Kadosh Baruch Hu had to, according to two opinions, one, have her grow a tail, which would be a good reason not to show up. As I said yesterday, not to, because that would be embarrassing for her, but also embarrassing for her husband, the king. Because here he's saying, she's she's the most beautiful woman in the world, and here she's going to, prance in there with a tail, or with the tsaras, with the skin condition. So everyone's going to say this is what the king thinks is a beautiful woman. He's crazy, and so she, in a certain way, by not showing up, right? She in fact was protecting his honor. But as the Gemara mentioned, it wasn't so much that she didn't show up, but because the note, the message that she sent to him was a disgraceful type of a note. She was deriding him. She was disgracing him with the note she sent. So the question is, why should she do that? Like, she's really interested in getting her husband angry at her, right? So you have to explain it in the following way, that this is obviously part of the plan of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? That many times people want to do things, and in this case, both Vashti and Achashverosh, as the Gemara says, they both had the same plan. Their plan was to cause the Jews to sin, right? Achashverosh wanted to have the Jews sin through his party, and Vashti wanted the Jews to sin through her party, and they were both really interested in the same thing. So you see this many times, that Kadosh Baruch Hu will control people's thoughts, and that will be determining sometimes the history of greatness. But again, the Kadosh Baruch Hu is not simply going to um, change a person's thoughts. They have to be inclined to do it, and the Kadosh Baruch Hu will simply lead them perhaps in a stronger way than they would have done on their own. But he was really making the decision on their own, or she was making the decision on her own. That's how we can relate. It says here that first balloon on that page, right, brings the Mishnah in Avos, right, in Perek Beis, Mishnah Yud, Va'al tiheh noach l'koy. So a person shouldn't be quick to get angry, right? Right? A person should not be quick to anger. So here had wait, and now we're talking about that, as it says here, v'yiktsoy hamelach ma'oid v'chamaso bara'aloi, and the king became very angry, and his fury was burning within him, right? So had he exercised some type of control, right? So that would be a way that the situation could have turned out differently. If Achashverosh had express some type of self-control, meaning maybe to get angry, right? Maybe to get angry, but don't get angry and so furious and so quickly. Meaning, even if she did send a note that upset him, but you can do a lot of things to her and to force her to regret what she did, right? But as we're going to see in the next few psukim, that simply to eliminate her. So that was apparently as a result of his anger. I might have mentioned at least once. Rabbi Avigdor Miller once had he had, besides being the shkiach in I think it was Chaim Berlin, Yeshiva Chaim Berlin in Brooklyn, but he also had a shul. He had a shul. And so one day, one of his members of his shul comes up to him, and he says that he hit his wife. Gave his wife a good punch somewhere, right? He got angry and hit his wife, and he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know what to do. So Rabbi Miller told him he should get in a cab, take a cab to the diamond district, and buy a big fat diamond ring, right? Big fat diamond ring. It says even go into hock for it, take out loans to get this diamond, right? And because it's going to be a lot cheaper than the lawyer's fees, right? Once the lawyers get involved, right, the lawyers are going to get all your money, even more than you own. And so it's better to spend the money on a diamond ring and go home and apologize to your wife and give her this diamond. And he did that, and you know what? She forgave him. Right? She was appeased. He appeased her, and avoided a terrible tragedy. Right? Of course, it was terrible that he hit his wife. I don't know. I mean, something must have got him upset about that he would hit his wife. Hashem Merakim Aleinu. Not to think about such things even, but nevertheless, those things, regardless of what's going on. Here also, you see the Melech Achashverosh is burning angry. I told you that. I tell you about the story. I read it when I was the man who was watching the Mets game. You remember that story?
No.
You don't. Roy, you remember anything? Roy, you know who the Mets are? Roy usually doesn't know who the Mets are.
The what? The baseball.
Yeah, it's American baseball.
American baseball.
All right, that game, right? Okay, it's children play all sorts of things, don't they?
Yeah. What's that? Excuse me.
Children play all sorts of things, don't they?
Yes, they do, and big children get paid a lot of money for doing it also.
Yes, that's the trouble.
Yeah, trouble. So anyway, listen to this trouble. So anyway, it was 1969, right? So if you know anything about that year, that was the year that the Mets won the World Series. Okay. Mets won the World Series. The first time they won the World Series, the New York Mets. It was a very, very exciting season, and it happened to be in the middle of the summer season, and everyone was watching to see what's going to happen with the Mets games. So you had this fellow. He was sitting in his apartment in Queens, and it was 2:30, 3 o'clock, and the ball game's about to start. So he puts on his channel with the ball game, sits there, and is watching his ball game, and so the game's going on and on, right? And now it comes 4 o'clock, right? Now it comes 4 o'clock. So his wife was an avid fan of a certain soap opera. You know what soap operas are, Roy? You heard about those things?
Yes, we have them in Australia too.
Oh, okay.
Very, very clean people there.
Okay. Very good. Anyway, people sometimes they get involved with the soap operas. They want to know what's going to be the next exciting episode. You know, you can't live from one day to the next without knowing what's going to happen. So anyway, so comes 4 o'clock, and this poor couple has a dilemma. I say they're a poor couple because that was the problem. If they had enough money for 2 televisions, the wife would probably still be alive today. But unfortunately, didn't have enough money for 2 televisions. So the wife, it's 4 o'clock and it's time for a soap opera. So she goes over to the television set and switches the channel from the ball game to the soap opera, right? So husband gets up off of his chair, switches it back to the ball game, right? And she's not going to take no for an answer. So she gets on her high heels and goes over to this television set and switches it back to the soap opera. So the he's had enough of this. He's missing out on his game, so goes into the back room, takes out a gun, shoots his wife dead, and sits down and turns on the television back to the channel of the ball game. And as soon as the ball game is over, he calls up the police and turns himself in. He wasn't a criminal. He was just a baseball fan. Right? But unfortunately, his wife wasn't going to take no for an answer, and neither was he. So they both got sufficiently angry at each other that he decided the only way to solve this dilemma was to kill his wife. So Hachashverosh also had a similar dilemma. Right? What's he going to do with his Vashti? His Vashti doesn't want to come. And okay, so number one, she doesn't want to come. Number two, well, she wrote him a nasty note, right? So instead of like writing her a nasty note back, he says, well, what's going to be? Right? So that brings us to Pasuk Yud Gimel. Okay, let's continue on. Yeah, go ahead, Lou.
Vayomer Hamelech L'Chachamim Yodea Ha'itim Ki Chen Devar Hamelech Livnei Kol Yodea Das Vadin. So that the king said to the wise people who know the times, in such a case, let's see, Devar Hamelech, the words of the king, in front of all of those who know knowledge and justice. So he asked his wise people, what do I do?
Right. And Right. So so this seems to be a bit curious. I mean, he's burning mad. He's burning mad, and so he's not so angry that he took things into his own hands. He called for his advisors, right? That seems to be somewhat of a sane type of a reasonable type of a procedure, right?
Yeah, it
So
doesn't sound like he's burning mad.
right, right, right. So so that's a bit of a wonder, meaning if he's so um in control that he can call for his advisors to advise him how to act in this situation. So um, it must be that he was not as angry as we really thought he was, right? Usually people when they get burning mad, they usually do things irrationally, right?
Yeah,
But this seems to be a rational decision, right?
yeah.
So so how can we explain this? Um, one second. See, one second. One second. Mm, uh, let's see the next pasuk. Let's hold on. We'll try and get an explanation on this. Let's see the next pasuk.
V'hakarov elav hare shana karishona shesar shesar ad masa par shish meres mar sena me muchan shiv as sarei paras umadai roe panei hamelech hayoshvim rishona b'malchus. Okay, so and the ones that were close to him, um, like the first, what is Shesar?
That's a name, Lou.
Oh,
Yeah,
He
Shesar.
lists the 7 names of the officers.
Ah, okay.
we had that right. We had that before, right?
Shesar, Admasa, Tarshish, Meres, Marsana, Memuchan, Shiv As, Sarei, Parasumadai, the 7 ministers of Paras and Madai. Ra'ei Panei Hamelech, they saw that the countenance of the king, Hayoshvim Rishona, B'malchus. What is Hayoshvim?
They were sitting Rishona and Malchus. They were sitting at the head kingdom, of his rule. I
Okay,
mean, these.
so these are the ones that he consulted with.
Well, that's a problem, because look what it says in the first part in Yud Gimel, in Pasuk Yud Gimel, Amro Melech Chachamim Yodei Itim. That phrase Chachamim Yodei Itim, right? That's a phrase which is used in reference to Jewish sages, Talmudi Chachamim. Okay.
Really?
Yeah, that is a special phrase, meaning again, it's written. The Megillah was written with Ruach HaKodesh, and the fact that it's using that phrase is telling us something. It's telling us something. It's telling us a lot in as few words as possible. So if the Gemara Megillah, the Gemara Megillah uses this man chachamim. Who are these chachamim? Right? That Achashverosh spoke to the Chachamim Yodei Itim, that they know the times. We'll explain what it means knowing the times in a minute. He spoke to the Chachamim. So that means he spoke to the Jewish sages. The Gemara says, Man Chachamim. Who are these Chachamim? Rabbanan. Those are the rabbis. Yodei Itim. The Gemara continues. What's shot in the pasuk Yodei Itim? It says, they are the Chachamim who know to make leap years and to change the months. We know that there was a Sanhedrin, and at the time we had a Beis Hamikdash, so they had to have the months fixed according to the decree of the Sanhedrin, the Beis Din in Yerushalayim. Also, the year they could give an extra month of Adar if necessary, according to the needs of keeping Pesach in the time of Aviv, the time of the springtime. So therefore, they had the ability to know and change, if necessary, and arrange the various months. And so that's a special phrase referring to specifically to Jewish sages, right? So Amr Lehem. So this again, I'm quoting the Gemara in Megillah. Achashverosh said to the Rebbeim, the rabbis, Dainoli, you should judge this case for me. Amru. So they said, the Chachamim said to themselves, right, how are we supposed to do this? How are we supposed to behave here in this situation? Neimale Katla, if we say to him, kill the queen, the Marcha Pasuk lay Kamra Uba La Minayin. So how are we supposed to, what are we supposed to say to this king? What's he supposed to do with his wife, this queen, this rebellious queen? We should say that she should get killed? If we say she should get killed, well, listen, tomorrow the wine is going to wear off. Right now the king is drunk, and he's asking us to judge this case for him. If we say we should kill her, and we actually take her out and kill her, so tomorrow the wine's going to wear off from him. He'll sober up, and he's to say namely and say name Allah and Shivaka, and he's gonna ask for her, right? And so he says, so it's going to be a problem for the rabbis, because he's going to turn around to the rabbis and say, you were the one who gave me the advice to kill the queen. He's going to be very angry at the Rebbeim if they did that. And on the other hand, to leave it alone, not to do anything, it's a zilzul in the malchus. It's a disgrace to the king. So we have a dilemma here. So what did they say? Namely, we said to them, Miyom shechorov Beis Hamikdash v'gilanu me'aratzenu natla eitzah memenu. From the time that the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, and the time that we were sent into Golus, exile from our land, Eretz Israel, right? Natla memenu eitzah. The ability to give good advice has been taken from us. And we don't know how to judge capital offenses. So Zil Gabi Amon Umoyev, the 'Esrei al Duftayu. rather go to Amun and Moav, that they're sitting on their in their places, and the Miyad Bikarav, and then Miyad Hakarav Elav Karshana Shasar. So that's the next. So that's the next thing. The Jewish sages, the Jewish rabbis, they got out of giving a psak din, a decision for Achashverosh as to what to do with Vashti, and therefore, since they now successfully avoided having to judge the case of Vashti, so now with Karabilam, Karshana, Shesar, Admasa, Tarshish, and all these 7 advisors, they now moved in, and they were the ones who were now avoiding the confrontation and deciding now what to do with this queen that's being rebellious. Okay, let's see the next pasuk.
Kedas ma la'asos b'malka Vashti al asher lo asa es ma'amar hamelech Achashverosh biyad ha-sarisim. According to the knowledge of those who act with the king, I'm sorry, who act with the queen.
Yeah, kedas ma'alasos. Yeah, kedas meaning according to the law, it should be done to the queen Vashti.
According to the law, what should be done with the queen Vashti? Concerning the fact that she did not do what the king said, what King Ahasuerus said, through the agency of the messengers, the ministers.
Right. So now the non-Jewish advisors stepped in. Right. The Jewish advisors, the rabbis, successfully having to judge this case. So now the non-Jewish advisors came, right, and they said that okay, it's going to be something has to be done with her according to a legal, whatever the law is for a rebellious queen. You look up under the laws for the queen's laws, and you look under what do you do with the rebellious queen, and we'll figure out what to do. Right, it's kedas, right? The expression kedas, meaning, I mean, if that's the case, if it's really kedas, that 1 second, good. One second. Okay. Kedas, marvelous. Yeah, kedas. This according to the law, it brings down the medrash. Amrav Yitzchak lachazirasa kedas b'luma kedusha shelo kedas ela b'agzoris. So kedas, meaning kedas is is an indication that they really wanted the advice that was being given here is that there should be some legal loophole. They were trying to find some legal loophole that they could spare the queen. Right? They were really trying to spare the queen. Okay, but now look at Pasuk Tez Zayin.
Vayomer Mu'chan Livnei Hamelech V'Hasarim Lo Al Hamelech Levado Av Sa Vashti Hamalka Ki Al Kol HaSarim V'Al Kol Ha'amim. Memuchan said to the king and the advisors, not against the king alone did Vashti, the Queen Vashti, transgress, but also concerning all of the princes and the people.
So, okay, so look what's happening here. The reply of the Sarisim, the advisors, right, was it should be kadas, which indicates that they should try and find a loophole, right? Try and find a loophole to spare the queen. Okay, apparently. For now comes Amra Memuchan. So the Gemara says, who's this Memuchan? Memuchan is Haman. It's Haman. And Haman says something different, right? He's not saying to do kadas. He's saying, look, you have to take the global picture into consideration here. You have to see what's the ramifications of this whole situation. You can't judge her as perhaps as a queen, where you might find some dispensation and some type of a royal pardon for what she's done. But now, since this is something which is going to affect, right, all the peoples, all the officials, and all the peoples throughout the whole kingdom, this is something which can't be done kadas. You've got to go beyond the letter of the law, and you have to be more strict with her than you normally possibly could have been. If you notice, right. If you notice, you see the top balloon there on the next page, which we just started here. That has the Pierke Avos and Perek Gimel Mishnah Vav. You see that there?
Yes.
Let's see that. Go ahead, we could read that.
Who Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa, he Omer Kol Haruach Sheduach Haberios No Cha Te Manu Ruach Hamakom Nocha Sim Manu V'chol She'ein Ruach Habrios No Cha Haimenu Ein Ruach HaMakom Nizcha Haimenu. So the Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa, it it was Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa who said, all, I don't know this word, shaduach.
Sharuach. All
Sure.
sharuach. I mean, really like the spirit of people, meaning all that the people have a pleasant feeling towards this person, right? All that all people that have a pleasant feeling towards this person or a person.
What is nocha?
Nocha is pleasant. Nocha hemenu. Call haruach habrios nocha hemenu, meaning the ruach, the spirit of the person is noach. It's settled, meaning it's pleasant. The people feel pleasant about being around this person.
Ruach hamakom nocha. The spirit of Hashem is pleasant to them.
Right, meaning is Hashem is pleased with them. Anyone who people are pleased with, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is also pleased with that person. Right? Meaning if a person's pleasant, if people feel pleasant around this one particular person, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu also is pleased with that person.
Okay. And anyone who is not does not have a pleasant disposition.
Well, it's not so much that it's pleasant. People are pleased with him. They're comfortable with this person. Meaning anyone that people are comfortable being around or being with, Kadosh Baruch Hu is also comfortable with that person, so to speak.
And conversely, anyone who people are not comfortable with, Hashem is not comfortable with.
Right. So what does that have to do with this pasuk in Megillah? So again, Memuch Chaman was making the following claim against Vashti, right? He said that it's not simply lo ala melech levado of a sin, a disgrace against the king that Vashti has done here. It's also an affront to all the officials and all the people. Right? It's also something that in all the Medinas of Achashverosh the king and all the province of the Achashverosh of the king. So it's not simply a personal situation between Vashti and the king that has to be judged here. As Chaman's advising, we have a situation as it has ramifications throughout the kingdom of Achashverosh. That people are, Vashti here is not finding favor, neither in the eyes of the king nor in the eyes of the people. And also she's not having any favor in the eyes of Kadosh Baruch Hu either. So that once a person doesn't have the favor of Kadosh Baruch Hu upon them, that's the end of that, right? In which that led the door open to now her final demise. Okay, good. Maybe we'll hold here. We're at Pasuk Yud Zion, right?
Okay.
Yeah, Pasuk Yud Zion. Very good. Let's hold here rather than rush through the next pasuk, and we'll pick up on Pasuk Yud Zion tomorrow, Mitzvah.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Shkoyach, Lou.
Very good. Yeah, very good. Hey, Roy, should have a good afternoon. We'll see you tomorrow, Mitzvah.
I hope be well.